Hello everyone! In today's lesson, we will continue Chapter 5, What Fossils Show Us. Yesterday, we learned about how scientists study the Earth's past. How do they study the Earth's past? Do they take a ride on a time machine and then fly back in time to see what happened? No, there are no such thing as a time machine. So instead, scientists study the Earth's past by digging in the ground and studying rocks. Rocks give clues about the Earth's past. Then how do scientists understand these clues? Well, that depends on what they believe in, and their beliefs are called a worldview. A worldview is a way of looking at or understanding the world. And there are two main beliefs about how the Earth was made: creation and evolution. So what are the differences between creation and evolution? Well, people who believe in creation believe that God spoke and made the earth. They also believe that God made the earth perfect, but the earth changed after Adam sinned. They believe that man's sin caused God to send a flood that covered and changed the whole earth. And they believe that most fossils were probably formed during the flood. Then what about those people who believe in evolution? They believe that the earth was made by chance, not by God. They also believe that the earth changed many times. They believe that the change was made slowly over a long time. And they also believe that fossils were formed slowly over millions of years. So which belief should we have as Christians? We should believe in creation and believe that God created all things and that what Bible says is true. We call that biblical worldview. Today, we're going to learn about how scientists use clues that the living things left behind to learn about those living things. Take a look at these leftovers that a stranger left behind. What do you think this person ate? Maybe pizza, potato chips, banana, and a candy bar. Did you actually see the person eating? No, but we can use these clues left behind, to figure out what was eaten. Today, we're going to learn about how scientists use clues that the living things left behind to learn about those living things. Open up to page 75. Page 75. Fossils. As you read, I want you to try to find out the meaning of the word fossil. That is the bolded word in this page. Scientists use rocks to find out about the Earth's past. Many important clues come from fossils that are found in rocks. Other kinds of fossils also give clues. A fossil is the remains of a living thing that died long ago. Fossils form when living things are buried quickly by mud or sand. People think differently about fossils. Some think fossils formed over millions of years. These people believe in evolution. Others think that most fossils formed during the flood. These people believe in creation. The flood moved a lot of mud. The mud quickly buried some living things. After the flood, the mud dried. Fossils formed as the mud dried. Fossils are found all over the earth. They are found in deserts and prairies. They are even found on mountains. So what do scientists use to find out about the Earth's past? They use rocks to find out about the Earth's past. Then what is in the rocks that help them? There are clues that come from fossils that are found in rocks. Then what is a fossil? A fossil is the remains of a living thing that died long ago. Take a look at this picture. What is this a fossil of? It's a fossil of a turtle. What clues about the turtle does the fossil show you? Well, we can see that it may have had a pointed tail. Maybe the turtle's nose was pointed, and the shell maybe had a certain design. And it has at least 2 feet and probably 4, although we cannot see them in this picture. Then what do you notice about the legs and feet of the turtle? So the way it's shaped right here, or the way it's placed, helps us imagine that this turtle was able to swim. Then how do scientists who believe in evolution think that these fossils were formed? They believe that the fossils were formed over millions of years, so very slowly. Then how do scientists who believe in creation think that the fossils formed? They believe that the fossils, or most fossils, were formed during the flood. They believe that the flood moved a lot of mud, and this mud quickly buried some living things. And after the flood, the mud dried. And as the mud dried, these fossils were formed. So that's why we can see fossils all over the earth. Next page. Kinds of fossils. Fossils form in different ways. In some fossils, the living thing dies and turns to rock. These are called petrified fossils. Sometimes mud hardens around a living thing. The living thing dies and rots. It leaves its shape in the rock. This kind of fossil is called a mold. And a mold sometimes fills with mud. The hardened mud becomes rock. This kind of fossil is called the cast. The cast is a copy of the living thing that was once in the mold. So here on this page, it talks about 3 different types of fossils. Petrified fossils, mold, and cast. So what does the word petrified mean? It means that it turned to rock. So it turns to rock. Then how are petrified fossils formed? The living thing dies and turns to rock and becomes a fossil. Take a look at the picture right here. This is petrified wood. What does the wood look like? It looks like a rock. And here we have other examples. This is a petrified fossil of a starfish, and this is a petrified fossil of a dragonfly. So these living things have died and then turned into rocks. Then how does a mold form? The mold forms when the mud hardens around a living thing, and the living thing dies and rots. And then it leaves its shape in the rock, like this. What shape does the mold have? It has the shape of a shell. So these are examples of candy molds. And this mold has a hole or an open space. On this candy mold, the space has a shape of a rose, and these other trays have other shapes or designs. But a fossil mold is created when mud hardens around a living thing. That's why on a fossil mold, the space is the shape of the living thing that was there. And you can tell that these are fossil mold because of how the shape is caved in. Then what is a cast? A cast is a copy of the living thing that was once in the mold. Then how does a cast form? It forms when the mold is filled with mud, and this mud will harden into a rock, like this. Take a look at these chocolates. How did these chocolates get this shape? Well, these chocolates were first put into this mold, and then it was melted into a liquid and then hardened. So the chocolate now have the shape of the mold. If this chocolate was a fossil, then what will we call it? We will call it a cast. Like this picture right here. Here we have the mold, and when this mold is filled with mud, and then if that mud hardens, it will turn into this cast. So the mold is caved in, and the cast has the shape of this mold. Let's watch how mold and cast fossils are formed. First, the mold fossils. Mold fossils are formed when a living thing dies and are covered by mud. The living thing dies and then rots, and it leaves its shape in the rock. Then this shape is filled in with mud or other minerals that are hardened into rock. That's why a cast is a copy of the shape in the mold. Let's continue reading. Amber is a fossil that is not rock. It is tree sap that hardened. Amber can contain other fossils. Sometimes insects were trapped by the sticky sap. They are still seen in the hardened amber. Scientists have found fossils in places where the land is always frozen. They are called frozen fossils. Most frozen fossils are large animals. One kind of frozen fossil is of the woolly mammoth. Woolly mammoths look like hairy elephants. The fossils of these mammoths show they were buried quickly and then frozen. Some still had food in their stomachs and seeds in their mouths. So what is an amber? Amber is a tree sap that hardened. And these amber can contain other fossils, like this. So sometimes these insects were trapped by the sticky sap and then hardened into this fossil. So let's take a look at how amber is formed. So here we have in the forest, there's a tree, and the tree sap traps the bug. So it oozes out and traps the bug. And time will pass by, on and on and on. And even after many years has passed, we can still see the bug in the hardened amber. Look at the picture of this amber. What can be seen in the hardened amber? We can see a spider. So this spider was trapped in this tree sap, and then we can still see it inside the amber. What is another kind of fossil? They're called frozen fossils. What is one kind of animal that has been found as a frozen fossil? The woolly mammoth. So let's take a look at this picture of woolly mammoth. What animal is it similar to? It is similar to an elephant. But what differences do you notice between an elephant and the woolly mammoth? Well, it has long hair and longer tusks. What do the fossils of mammoths show? Well, these mammoths show that they were buried quickly and then frozen. How do we know they were buried quickly? We know that they were buried quickly because some still had food in their stomachs or seeds in their mouth. So what are the 5 kinds of fossils? Petrified fossil, mold, cast, amber, and woolly mammoth. We are now going to go on to Activity Manual, page 65. Numbers 1 through 4, you're going to complete the definitions. If needed, use the glossary. So let's try number 1 together. A worldview is a way of looking at or understanding the. So on page 72, it says the worldview is a way of looking at or understanding the world. You can also find the word worldview in your glossary. Then number 2, creation is the belief that God blank and made the earth. How did God make the earth? Well, on page 72 it says the Bible says that God spoke and made the earth. Number 3, evolution is the belief that all things came about by. On page 73 it says people who believe in evolution think that the earth came about by chance. Then number 4, a fossil is the remains of a living thing that died. Died when? You can find the answer on your own. We learned about it today, so you can go back to page 75 and then find the answer, or go to the glossary and then find the answer. Numbers 5 through 10. You're going to write C if the statement is a belief of creation. Write E if the statement is a belief of evolution. So you can work on this on your own and then rewind this video to check your answers. On the back page, numbers 11 through 15, you're going to write T if the statement is true. If the statement is false, write the correction for the underlined words. And for these, you do have a word bank. But remember, not all these words are going to be used. Well, that's it for today. Bye, everyone.